Ever been treated differently than your male counterpart at school or work? The sad fact is that if you have not faced discrimination yet, you soon will. Research represented by NoBullying.com revealed that 4 out of 10 women have faced or will face discrimination personally. In recent years, the topic of women discrimination has been brought to the forefront of American news. Women today are still being treated unfairly because of their defining genitalia, and certain measures have been taken or should be taken to potentially solve this crisis. How can we call ourselves citizens of the land of the free if our own female counterparts are chained down by the gripping patriarchal norms we established so long ago? If women do not obtain fair treatment, the once proud United States will become a nation of heated hypocrites. Women deserve their natural rights and should be granted equality under the eyes of the law and the moral eyes of its citizens. From the dawn of humanity and civilization, women were treated as inferior creatures far below men. Men dominated the land, the kingdom, and all the power. In the time of the Neanderthals, women were ordered to gather berries and stay at home, while men did the prideful job of hunting to provide for the tribe. In times before Christ, a queen was not allowed to present herself to a royal husband unless he called for her. The punishment of disobedience would be immediate execution. However, we do not need to look back into ancient times to find striking evidence of gender injustices. Prior advances have blinded the American people to believe that gender discrimination has been eradicated. However, the truth is that women still face economic, political, and social inequity. Although gender discrimination continues to this day, many Americans have been made to believe that sex inequality does not exist anymore. Because of previous accomplishments such as the ability to study male-dominated fields and suffrage to women, American men and women have adopted a false notion that inequality is non-existent. It is valid to say that women have made certain advances toward equality, but they still are not equal. When feminists today argue for further equality, the response is a big fat no. Opposers believe that women in the United States already have a sufficient amount of rights and that they should focus more on females' oppression in the third world countries. The first step to global equality is to reach equality here at home. In fact, a staggering statistic presented by the Washington Post reveals that women hold 17% of the seats in Congress, make a little bit over half of what men make, and make up the majority of America's poor population. It is true that we also need to put an emphasis on global female discrimination, but how can we quench the thirst for female equality across the seas if inequality is still blazing back home? Today, women continue to face economic inequity. The Institute for Women's Policy Research found that because women only make 77 cents to a man's dollar, by the age of 59 they will have lost $800,000 due to the gender wage gap. In other words, if a woman and a man are both educated, the men earn the most money in the same field and leave women in the dust. Even if they have the same level of education, men ultimately receive more money in the long run. Not only does the present wage gap affect women now, it also affects their future. As a result of the wage gap, women are also left in poverty. The Government Accountability Office recently found that women constitute 59% of the low-wage workforce. That's almost 3/4 of the nation's poor population.
That women are lying. As the article states, considering the discrepancies in job requirements, similar education and responsibility, or the same skills, the New York Times. According to this, it shows women and men are required to have the same education and skills, so they should be getting the same pay.
Not a lot of women are seen working in the political field. A research shows how America now ranks 98th in the world of percentage of women in its national legislature, down from 59th in 1998. Not a lot of women have a role in the bigger office. Men are dominating these jobs. Women should be taking part in politics since it is shown that women legislators, both Republican and Democrat, introduce a lot more bills than men in the areas of civil rights and liberties, education, health, labor, and more. Women are able to do a better job than most men in the work field. Women have the capacity to do the same job as men. They can probably do more than men. Women aren't getting enough funds to campaign and go against the men who get more money from the government. Throughout the years, many organizations run by women have worked hard to ensure that women are represented in Congress, and what they worked hard for has been accomplished. The women representation in Congress has increased from 34 women, 6% before the 1992 election, to a total of 102, 19% in the House and Senate today, out of 535 states. The amount of women in Congress has increased by 13%. This is beneficial because now women would be heard and have a say in what should be done and what shouldn't.
Schools today do not allow girls to use certain clothing because they will be seen as sex objects by boys. As a result, women are forced to dress a certain way because of the rowdy minds of men. The government's Justice Department reported that there are about 182,000 sexual assaults committed against women annually. The influence of TV, video games, books, movies, and almost any media portray women with a sexual connotation, and as a result, women are sexually assaulted. Not only does this restrict what women can wear and how they act, but it also instills fear in being judged by their male counterparts and even their fellow females. From early times, women were encouraged to be stay-at-home mothers, while the man of the house went out to work. It is still true to this day. At a young age, females are encouraged to embark in safer fields of work and are discouraged to enter more male-dominated fields of work. The International Labor Organization reported that women represent 79% of the health and social services and 68% of the education workforce. However, they only represent 43.2% of the professional, scientific, and technical sectors and 8.9% of the construction sector. Like the social norm established from the creation of civilization, women stayed in their own lane and took the jobs they were veered to towards childhood. Because of the mindset women adopted at a young age, they were disabled from pursuing other potential jobs. However bad these problems might be, there are potential steps toward liberty and equality for
Feel
women.
about the way women are portrayed in the eyes of the media, such as music videos and movies.
I think women are portrayed as sex symbols. I think they are seen just as an object for the media, especially in hip hop. At least they're portrayed as the weak side in my eyes. I think they make them seem as, they're just there to display their bodies and not who they really are. At least that's what I see when I see modern music videos and hip hop.
When I see women portrayed in the media, I don't ever see women portrayed in a way that I feel comfortable being or that I would want my daughter to be. I feel a lot of times women are portrayed overly sexually, or they're portrayed as like followers of men, and I rarely see a woman in a movie or especially a music video where I think like, oh, that's how I want to be when I grow up, or that's how I want my daughter to be when she grows up, and so I think that we have a lot of work to do in terms of the way women are portrayed in the media.
Possible methods that should be taken. The first step is simple. Talk to young ones and make them feel secure at a young age. At a young age, children are incredibly receptive, so introducing them to the topic will be an effective and healthy start towards collective equality. Discussing forms of discrimination with young girls will enable them to adapt skills and strategies to cope with inequality and will help them grow into strong women. Steve E. Barkman, former president of the Society for the Study of Social Problems and professor of sociology at the University of Maine, wrote in his book, A Primer on Social Problems, about methods to halt social, political, and economic discrimination against women. The media displays obscene and provocative scenes of women, which portray them as sexual objects. By using popular media to confront gender stereotyping, the collective viewpoint about women and their role in society will shift from being seen as sex slaves to being seen as equal to men. In addition, increasing the enforcement of existing laws against gender discrimination will help relieve the social crisis. This will also help create consciousness not only within society, but within the workplace and the home as well. Professor Barkin also addresses the problem of social discrimination. Increased mentorship and efforts to boost the number of women in positions of political leadership will do the double job of encouraging women to engage in politics and motivating women to take jobs in traditionally male-dominated fields. One great inspiration in America is former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton. She is a proud feminist and is inspiring young women in her campaign for presidency. Helena Trachel head of the Office for the Equality of Men and Women of the Canton of Zurich, addresses ways to address the economic inequity in her homeland. Although her methods were written for the situation in Europe, there are still more than applicable in America's situation as well. Trachel argues that by providing fair and transparent salary ranges and arranging flexibility for women in the workforce, the payback would disintegrate. Implementing these measures would not only have monetary benefits, it will also create an equitable and pleasant environment in the workplace. It will also lead women to take places of leadership in the business. The Harvard Business School, in conjunction with Catalyst, found that companies with 25% or more of women in leadership positions as corporate officers average 13 times more philanthropic donations than those with none. Evidently, equality in the workforce benefits the company itself, as well as the women who took the opportunity of the leadership roles. Thus, prior advances have fooled Americans into believing that gender discrimination is a thing of the past. However, that mirage has blinded them from seeing the ongoing economic, political, and social inequity women endure. In the same job, women only make about 77 cents to a man's full dollar. The United States has never had a woman ruler, while even third world countries around the world have. In addition, women are seen as obscene objects and are discouraged from delving into traditionally male-dominated fields. By creating awareness at an early age and using the media to talk about the dangers of discrimination, America will achieve gender inequality. The United States is universally known as the land of the free. However, if measures are not taken soon, the nation will fall into hypocrisy. If the match that is gender inequality is left unattended for any longer, the nation as we know it will be consumed by the great blistering flames of hypocrisy and injustice.